Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today I'm coming at you with another list. I gotta say, guys, I've absolutely been loving making these lists. The best of, the top 10s, the top 15s. They've just been absolutely a blast. I like them just as much, if not more, than reviews. So you're gonna see a lot more of these as I continue to come up with topics, get creative. They're just a blast. So today we're going to talk about the top 10 most solid, well-built knives. I'm talking knives that are built like a tank, ready to be beaten on, or maybe they're just made with super premium materials and they can withstand anything. We're going to go over all that here in just a second. Before I get into this list, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button, follow along. You're going to see a lot more lists, a lot more reviews, and who knows, a lot more creative content as I come up with it. You guys will be the first to see it. So let me move this sticker out of the way, which will be available for purchase here rather soon. And let's get started on this list. Coming in at number 10, we have the BRS Nomad. Now, this one probably came out of left field for you guys. This is not a knife that you hear about a lot, but it is still available. Last I checked, it was still available on Blade HQ, and there are a lot of things to love about this knife. S35 VN steel, a gnarly, wicked tanto with really just as much kind of equal sides on the of the grind, the tanto lines. It's pretty much 50-50, and it absolutely annihilates cardboard. It'll annihilate anything you put through it. It is just, it's a beast, and it is thick. It is thick with 2 C's thick. Let's compare this to a Civivi Elementum. Look at that. It's almost twice as thick. It might, okay, yeah, not twice as thick, but it is redonkulously thick. When you put this in your pocket, you know it's there. And I think it might be one of the drawbacks of this knife, because really the action is on point. BRS is known for making knives with great action. They're actually really known for their balisongs, which they do a phenomenal job on. I don't own any, but I've handled some. I am not much of a twirler or a flipper by any means, but I do like this knife, and it really opened my attention to BRS. Decent little pocket clip. Really, the only drawback on it is maybe the thickness, but again, that's why this knife, you got solid liners, nice thick G10, just rock solid construction. If there's one other thing that may not be ideal is this hole. It's the only way to open it, and that's fine, but the problem is, and I've actually kind of mastered it, but it took a while. You just have to know how to manipulate it, because you can't really get your thumb in there. You can get your middle finger in there, and you can get your index finger in there just fine, but your thumb, you kind of have to just push and kind of push out, but it works. It works. It's a fantastic design. I think it looks amazing, but just thick blade stock, thick handle, quality materials, and I tell you what, nice bearings. You could throw this through anything. It'd be just fine. Just a great knife that I don't think gets enough attention. I really don't. It's a rather old one. It came out, I think, last year in 2019, but it's a really good one. That's number 10, the BRS Nomad. Number 9, we're coming in with one that's kind of made a few more appearances on the channel lately, the Tucson TS129, and I've said before, this honestly reminds me of a ZT quality build, and I'm not backing away from that. I'm going to stick by it, because that's just how I feel about it. It's got a nice level of thick titanium, not thin, thick liners, just solid. Very solid, nice screws. They're not small, crappy screws. I've took this thing apart, put it back together now. Everything holds up just fine. It goes to speak for the quality of construction and attention to detail. When you take a knife apart and put it back together, and it goes back together just as it was when you got it in the box and it was already working like a charm, that's quality. That's they're doing everything right, and Tucson really opened up my eyes with this knife. The sheep's footy blade is a super powerful cutter. You can send it through just about anything. Nice and fidgety. Very nice thumb hole. One of my favorite thumb holes of all my knives. Very easy to use and deploy, and it makes it gives you a lot of options on how you'd like to deploy the blade. But again, more than anything, just nice, sturdy, solid build. If this said ZT on it, I wouldn't question it. Very nice. I wish ZT would make a front flipper, but until then, I'm extremely happy with this. ZT kind of has made a front flipper, and you'll see about that in just a second. But that is the Tucson TS129 coming in at number 9. And number 8, we have the Quiet Carry Waypoint. Now, hear me out on this before you're saying, oh, that's not built like a tank. Because, again, like I said, this has ultra premium materials, Vanex steel. Look at that. Look at those tolerances and the nice, thin, slicey blade. You have marine grade titanium, marine grade screws, LC200N liner. Everything on here is marine grade, and it will not rust. It will not rust. So that makes it on the list for me, hands down. I carry this knife probably more than, I would say almost more than any of my knives, and it's because of that. It's because of the corrosion resistance, because I am a sweater, and when I carry this, I just don't have to worry about it. I just love it, and it is solid. I mean, you got titanium, everything. It's not the thickest, beefiest, tanky-looking guy in the world, but action's on point, and it's going to be looking good as new for a long time unless you somehow break that blade in half. It's ready to take whatever you throw at it. You don't want to use it the way you would, some other knives that you're going to see higher up on this list, but it is 100% good to go at 99% of your EDC tasks, unless you are just working hardcore construction or something crazy like that. If you're just working, I don't know, it can take just about anything. It really can. Cardboard, little cuts, this, that, the other. It can cut through harder stuff. Vanex steel is really, really, really impressing me with not just the corrosion resistance, but also the edge retention, and the sharpenability is really not. It's not a nightmare. It's not S90 by any means. It's a pretty okay steel to sharpen, even for me. And I'm not the best sharpener. I've said it before, but this is just a great knife. It's just a great knife, and it is built like a tank in its own special little way, and it's just got the best materials. I hope Quiet Carry continues this route, because at $295, in my opinion, this is absolutely worth it, and I hope they come up with more designs around this structure or thought process of building a knife. Great knife. Quiet Carry Waypoint coming in at number 8. At number 7, we have, I'm just going to admit it, I wanted to make sure I wasn't listing the wrong number, so I did a quick count on my lineup of knives. That was kind of embarrassing, but hey, you know what? I got nothing to hide. No shame here. Number 7, we got the Cold Steel AD10. And if we were talking about this knife, if price was really being taken into consideration here, because I'm not really considering price, I'm strictly considering quality of build, materials, sturdy, strength of the knife. That's being taken into consideration. If I was factoring in price, this would be number 1. It would be, because it is considerably the cheapest knife on this list at number 7. The knives before it, the Quiet Carry was obviously more expensive, but the Nomad and the 129, TS129, they were a little less than this, but this is also much more of a tank of a knife. And under the guidelines and everything, if price was a factor, this would be number 1. But price is not a factor, so we're sticking this guy in here at number 7. But no disrespect to be thrown at it, because tell you what, this knife, you don't want to disrespect this knife. It is a beast, badass bruiser. I don't think you can break this. I mean, you'd really have to. Look at that. Let's bring out the Civivi Elementum again for just a blade stock comparison. And this is the D2, which, if you guys watch my video on comparing the Elementums, you would know that the D2 model has even a thicker stock. And maybe the camera doesn't quite do it justice, but this blade is a beefy boy. and it's wide. It's every angle of big. Length, width, height. This blade is just a monster, and it goes along with monster thick G10 scales with nice solid liners and the strongest lock in the entire knife industry, the Demco. God, how did I forget the name of this lock? It's because there's been so many different Demcos, from the Scorpion lock to the Shark lock to Triad lock. God darn it, the Triad lock. This is the Triad lock, and it is a big reason why this knife is on this list. And it's everything about cold steel made the best. There's not many cold steels. As a matter of fact, I would probably say this is actually by far my favorite cold steel. There's really not a lot that come close. The Code 4 is nice. The Airlight's nice. But this one here definitely takes the cake. One, I love Andrew Demco designs. But two, it's an overall complete beast of a package, and it can beat on anything. S35 VN steel. Surprisingly very slicey grind. This is just a beautiful knife, and it is a perfect example of Andrew Demco's talent and ability, and it's on just a spectacular showcase right here. This is the Cold Steel 8010 at number 7. Now number 6. Number 6, we are talking about a real ZT, and we are talking about my favorite ZT. We are talking about the Zero Tolerance 0640, and this is the one I was talking about as a front flipper. You guys, some of you probably know. I mean, if you're decent with front flippers, you can make it work. I absolutely plan on adding some jimping up here, just from this point up. Put some decent jimping on that, and it's going to be actually a really nice front flipper. But let's get off the front flipper, and let's talk about this knife. It's ZT. You guys already know. American quality, premium materials, premium steel, blade centering on point. Just the only thing, this may look a little different to you guys because I got rid of the hideous clip that this came with and put on a good old Lynch clip, along with some beautiful, perfect micarta scales from Sharp Dress Knives that absolutely make this knife. I didn't hate the green carbon fiber like a lot of people did, but this knife, this knife was meant to have micarta scales. It really was. It just looks, with these scales, it looks like just the perfect adventure knife for me. If I had to take one knife on an adventure, it'd probably be this, and it's not my favorite knife. It's my favorite ZT, but I just love the lines on this knife. It's classy, it's elegant, but it's also aggressive and screaming to go on an adventure. It's just right. It's just right for me. 20 CV steel, an Emerson design. It doesn't get a whole lot better in the ZT realm, for me anyway. There's a lot of other models that I like, but I'm really just murdering the action. That's the one thing I would change, is the thumb disc on this. Not really a fan. For me, it usually takes a little wrist, just because I maybe it's just in my head. Maybe I don't carry it enough. I need to start carrying this more and get the action on this disc down on point. But it really does work pretty well. It's the ZT. They're all pretty buttery smooth. But like more than anything else, they are built to take a beating. This knife is no different. That's why it's coming in at number 6, the ZT 0640. Now let's get on to another favorite of probably all you guys, and it's a favorite of mine. It's why it's number 5. It is the Microtech SOCOM Elite. And again, massively thick stock. M204P steel, 204P steel. Microtech's constantly changing up their steels. The one I had before was the automatic in M390. That was actually satin. This is a little different. I definitely prefer the manual version of this because it's just smooth. Just so smooth. And like I said before, when you flip this thing out, it almost sounds like you're pulling a sword out of a sheath. It's just badass. It's everything about Microtech. It basically defines the company, and I think it does a perfect job of it. Super grippy scales that aren't they don't feel like sandpaper, but they still have great great traction and bite tackiness to them. And then you also have a nice glass breaker at the bottom. I do kind of wish you could carry this tip down, but at the same time, for some reason, maybe it's just the fact that I'm used to it with this knife, but it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me that I have to carry it tip down. I'm probably, knock on wood, never going to find myself in a situation where I got to whip a knife out and do something crazy. So this is fine. It's fine the way it is, and I absolutely love it. And if you guys have seen the Microtech torture tests, I mean, you already know these knives can be thrown through, literally through or into anything, and they come out maybe a little scuffed up, but they are still just as useful as they were brand new. They absolutely take a beating. If you haven't ever seen them, get on YouTube, or actually, when you're done watching this video, look up Microtech Torture Test. Look up the Ultratech. They have one on the SOCOM Elite. They absolutely beat the hell out of these knives, and they stand up to it. That's why it's on the list, the Microtech SOCOM Elite at number 5. Number 4, this is another one you guys have seen a little more recently. For good reason, for that right there. This is the Demco Knives AD20, and let me just say, 20 CV steel, super thick stock, super thick G10. It's very well supported with the shark lock and all the standoffs going back here, and again, beefy screws. They're not your typical. These are number 8, I believe. They might even be number 10. I'm pretty sure. Well, they're definitely 8 or 10. I'd have to go look at it now because I don't remember. This is another knife. I've never taken it apart because I've never needed to, and I'm fine with that. I'm going to try not to do that in this video and just point out how strong this knife is, but it's just an absolute ox, and it's made to work. I love the fact that you can choke up on it and put a finger here with zero worry about cutting your finger. It's one of those knives, minus the shark lock, because, I mean, that's its own special little innovative feature, but just the look of this knife alone, it's one of those knives that just define the word knife for me. Beautiful clip point, a nice little cutout here to make it even extra fidgety, not too flashy. I like that they're just plain Jane Demco knives on the pivot here. Perfect texturing on the G10, absolutely perfect texturing. A clip that I'm growing, it's really growing on me. I like it. I used to think it was kind of goofy, but I'm to the point now to where I just like it. I just like everything about this knife, and to be honest, I don't know what I'd change. I don't think I'd change anything. I would love to get a model with titanium scales. That would be absolutely a dream. This was kind of a last-second decision. I had to sell a couple knives and kind of just really hoping it all came together, and I got it, and I couldn't be happier. It's never leaving my collection. I absolutely love it, and I would love to get a titanium version in hand, because I can only imagine that would be even stronger than this, which this is already ridiculously just built like a brick shit house. We'll just say it. It is absolutely amazing. That's the Demco Knives AD20 coming in at number 4. Now let's go to number 3, and we have your Hinderer XM18. Some people may disagree with this being at number 3, but when you see number 2 and number 1, I think you're gonna probably at least be able to see some reasoning in it. But again, it's Hinderer. It has a reputation, and Hinderers have only gotten better over time. The detents used to absolutely suck on them. They used to have the nylon washers in there, Teflon washers in there that really no one liked. And all credit to Rick and the guys over there at Hinderer. They heard everyone, and they gave the people what they wanted. And whether he wants to admit it or not, it made a million times better knife. The detent on this guy is, in my opinion, perfect, and I have had a bad experience with Hinderer detents. With actually this exact knife. I don't want to get too deep into it, but the detent was bad. I jumped through some hoops. I got the great people at DLT Trading took care of me, did a swap out, and actually kind of just a scale swap. and got me a new lock side, and I love it. It's perfect. So I'll always be grateful for DLT for helping me out there, because that was an expensive knife, and I didn't get a lot of help from Hinderer knives, but DLT stood up to bat for me and really helped me out. But it's still a great knife. It's still, there's no way it could not be high up on this list. Again, massively thick, deep screws, nice standoffs, nice, lock plates, it's got all the preventative maintenance stuff that's going to keep the knife going, keep it from falling apart on you. And it's a Hinderer. It's an XM18. They're kind of, they have a cult following, and for good reason, because they're darn good knives. They're just amazing knives. They sound great. They feel great. They are built like a tank. And that is the XM18 at number 3. Now, number two might surprise some people. And I want to say, before you even see this, I am wholeheartedly putting this at number 2 because I truly think it is the best. I haven't had it for a long time, but I've been carrying it a lot recently, especially for this year, because it is the Spartan Harzi folder with the special COVID edition. I wanted a souvenir from 2020 because it's been a wild and crazy year with a lot of ups and a lot of downs, as we've all experienced some of them. But this knife is just... I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to describe it, because to me, it's like the feel and the action is like if you were to combine a Chris Reeve Umnumzan with, say, probably, this is tough. Probably a Chris Reeve Umnumzan with maybe a Hinderer, darn it, I keep doing that. A Hinderer no flipper, where it's just the Hinderer thumb stud. There's just so much solid feel with this knife. And it pulls me in a lot of different directions on how to describe it to people. I love the design. It has its own touch, but it also just reminds you, again, it's another one of those knives to where like this is what a knife should look like. A long, thick, sturdy blade of a super premium steel that everyone seems to be loving. Super solid, pure titanium handles. I won't even talk much about the art because that doesn't have anything to do with the durability of this knife, but it does look amazing. All of Spartan's knives look amazing. And awesome little maker's mark here from William Harzi. Bill Harzi is an amazing guy. He's always super friendly on Instagram, so I always appreciate that when makers and companies, reach out and actually say nice things to you. It goes a long way. It goes a long way, whether they mean it or not. It goes a long way, and I think everyone appreciates it when you get courtesy and appreciation from the maker company. So I think that's awesome. I think this company is awesome. It's they're a very patriotic company. A lot of veterans involved in it, and it's just something that. Personally, I really appreciate that. It doesn't make me necessarily like the knife more. I like the knife because of the quality, but when you know that quality in a product is being turned out by good people that are hardworking, that know what it means to, they have their stuff in order. They have their priorities in order, and that's just my opinion. Again, there's going to be probably a lot of people that don't agree with me, but I specifically really like these guys, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come out with, because it seems like in the beginning they were more towards just outdoor knives, and now that they're getting more into folders over the past 2-3 years, it's really, really, really been looking good. And I think they're a real force to be reckoned with. As far as I'm concerned, this knife is still breaking in. From what I heard, it takes a while to break in, and it just gets smoother and smoother. But I will say, when I first got it, I couldn't even, I could flip it out, but it took a little wrist, and it's just getting smoother and smoother. And I think that just has to do with a lot of really tight tolerances and just working this bad boy in. But it is absolutely every bit completely solid, well built, and it is every bit as good, if not better, than your Hinderers and your Microtechs and your Chris Reeves. I can't say it's better than any of them because I haven't had nearly as much experience with it, but I am loving this knife so much I have it at number 2, and that is the Spartan Harzi folder. Now, number 1 Number one is number one because it's kind of it's one of the OGs of just solid built tank knives, and that would be the Chris Reeve Umnumzan. The Sebenza could probably fall in here too. Personally, I think the Umnumzan is just a little better. I like the way it looks more. I also don't have a Sebenza. If I had a Sebenza, I may just pull them both up here because I wouldn't want to put a Sebenza and Umnumzan at number one. But if you know Chris Reeves, which I'm sure most of you guys do, everything about Chris Reeves is perfection. And if it's not perfection, that's what he's trying for. And you usually see it. You almost always see it in his work and in his quality. When I first got this knife, before I even opened it, I just looked right here. And you have dead on centering. And the tolerances between these, between the blade and the titanium scales are just, or not really scales, handles, are just insane. It's insane. And I've carried this knife a lot, actually. And it hasn't moved a millimeter, not even a hair of a millimeter. It's on point, and it's super solid. You can slow roll it out, and it's nice and quiet. Or you could, after you break it in, it does kind of flip out pretty well. More than I thought it would. When I first got it, I wasn't super thrilled with the action. I appreciated the action. I liked it, but I think we all like a knife that flips out, whips out nice and fast with authority. And this knife eventually gets there. You just have to really work it. You have to work it. But again, these knives aren't made to be fidgety. They are made to last a lifetime. And I think this knife would last 2 or 3 lifetimes, if I'm being honest. Just looks great. I love the little flares that Reeves puts in it from the milling on the front scale. I don't know why I like that so much, because it's not symmetrical. I usually like symmetrical designs, but it's just awesome. It fits it right. It's kind of it's classic Chris Reeve, and this drop point blade is absolutely gorgeous. This harpoonish swedge up here is amazing. It looks sharp, but it's not. But it just looks incredible. Makes it extra great for piercing. Very sturdy. This knife is made to work and wants to work and ready to work. I just question how many people actually put them to work, because I mean, these are not cheap knives. $450 if I remember right. And it's like, who's going to go out and absolutely beat on one of these things? I've seen people do it. I wouldn't absolutely beat on this knife. I carry it for special occasions. And if I hit that tripod one more time, but no, it's just, there's really no way I couldn't put this knife at number one right now. Maybe over time things might change, but right now the Umnumzan is definitely number one for me. And I think the top 4, probably top 5, going back to the SOCOM Elite, you can't go wrong with any of them. I think just about everybody likes all of them, and they are just absolutely amazing pieces. They will last a lifetime. They will do any job you want to put it through, and I can almost guarantee you will enjoy any one of them. So the Chris Reeve Umnumzan at number 1, and that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this list. What did I miss? Because when you're talking about a top 10 list like this, I know I missed something. I'll probably agree with most of you in the comments when you say, oh, this should have been in there. So let me hear. I'm always excited and interested to hear what you guys have to say about these. What did I miss? What's your favorite knife that's just built like a tank and wanted to be beaten on? This has been a long video, but I hope you enjoyed it. Until the next one, I am out.